house. Oh, look at tonight. Devastating court ruling. And nobody has even talked about it. And I think this happened on Friday. So I just heard about it today. I didn't know that it dropped. So maybe other people didn't know it either. But it's a huge, huge deal. Huge deal. Now, this is regarding Sabrina Adkins and Jennifer Hill. They were the plaintiffs in a civil lawsuit that was filed against Mickey Steins, Ben Fields, and the ankle monitor company that Ben and Mickey both really worked for. Mickey had worked for them previously. And then whenever he became the sheriff, he had given that position to do the ankle monitors and the house arrest. He gave that position to Ben Fields. And so Ben took over the bailiff, Judge Kevin Mullins's courtroom bailiff job. And then he also took over the house arrest job. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. If you have a question, it's going to be a full house tonight. So try to do supers and those will stand out to me, okay? More so. So let's get this open and see what it is. Okay, so this is Sabrina Adkins versus Ben Fields, individually and in his official capacity et al. The background, we kind of already know the background. Plaintiff Sabrina Adkins and the estate of Jennifer Hill bring this action against the defendants Ben Fields, Billy Jones in his official capacity. Do you all see that? Let me zoom that in for us. Billy Jones, if you guys remember back a couple months ago, they requested to have Mickey Steins switched out because Mickey was only sued and named in this lawsuit in his official capacity. He was not named in his personal capacity. You know, I am not an attorney. I am not a lawyer, which means I was not trained and educated as an attorney. So I don't know from a lawyer's perspective, but from my perspective, I just question why Ned Pillersdorf and the other attorneys did not name more people in this lawsuit. Now, maybe they couldn't. I'm real critical why they didn't name the judge since it was his chambers that it was happening in. I'm very critical why they didn't name the jail since it was common practice for, as people were getting released on house arrest, they were told to go to the jail to pay their weekly fee. Most of the receipts that were taken for the weekly fees were received and signed by Ben's wife, Angie Fields. I don't understand why she was not named in that lawsuit. I don't understand why Mickey was not named in his personal capacity, because look what they just did. They switched him out. They pulled him out. They put Billy Jones in. And it seemed when it first happened, some of us were like, oh my goodness, that seems like a dirty move or something. No, that's very common practice. They do that all the time. So that should have been a chess move that Ned and the other attorneys saw coming down the road. If they have as much experience as what we know that they have, then they should have seen that coming. And that should have been prepared for. I wonder and I question why at the depositions, nobody asked one question of Mickey Steins or Ben Fields if they had ever seen the judge or anybody else performing or doing any kind of sexual misconduct with anybody. Those questions were never asked in the deposition. Now, was that something that was planned? Was that something that beforehand, before they ever walked into that deposition, they had agreed upon that? I don't know. But it seems to me like it probably was. Because how would you know going in there that they were not going to ask those questions? And as an attorney, why wouldn't you ask those questions? You already had Sabrina saying that she had seen the videos, and I actually heard it last night, and what stuck out to me last night was that she said Ben had the videos. That Ben had videos. That's what she said. If I remember that correctly from last night, that is what she said. And I was like, yeah, okay. All right, so Billy Jones and Eastern Kentucky Correctional Services, Inc. So that's the ankle monitor company. Fields is a former court security officer for the Letcher County LCSO, and Jones is the Letcher County Sheriff. Let's see what it says down here in the footnote. The second amended complaint originally brought claims against Mickey Steins in his official capacity as the Letcher County Sheriff. Because Steins is no longer a sheriff, the court earlier substituted Jones as a defendant. Okay, and then there's field supervision of Adkins. And we're not going to read all of that because we've already read it. We are interested in the ruling, procedural history, standard. Let's see what one was. Training and supervision on sexual misconduct, oversight of fields. It's a really, really long ruling. Motion to reopen discovery. Hill's claims. So let's read those. Well, we're going to start with his. Plaintiffs move to reopen discovery for a period of 180 days and hold the court's resolution of the summary judgment motions in abeyance. Their request arises out of public statements allegedly made by a lawyer representing Steins in his pending criminal case regarding the death of Judge Mullins. Steins is accused of shooting and killing Judge Mullins in his chambers on September 19th, 24, 3 days after he was deposed in this matter. The lawyer's statement, and this was Jeremy Bartley that they're quoting here, as reported in an online news article, are as follows. I think one of the big things is that my client felt there had been pressure placed on him not to say too much during the deposition. Now, if you remember, I had noticed that in the deposition, it said that Daniel Dotson had represented him in that deposition, which was very, very strange because Daniel Dotson was not the attorney on record for this thing. Let's see. All right. I think one of the big things, oh, and not to talk about things that happened within the courthouse, particularly in the judge's chambers. On the day that this shooting happened, my client had attempted multiple times to contact his wife and daughter, and he firmly believed that they were in danger. He believed that they were in danger because of what he knew to have happened within the courthouse. And there was pressure and there were threats made to him to sort of keep him in line. You see the kind of threats that I face just by reporting on this stuff. Could you imagine how terrified and panicky everybody around Mickey would have been at that time? Because think back to the atmosphere at that time, right? You didn't, all you had was all of this stuff being whispered behind the scenes, and it wasn't anything that was like right on people's minds. Nobody even really knew about this stuff that was going on with Ben Fields, even though it had been in the paper and stuff like that. You didn't have anybody talking about it. You really didn't. You may have had some people that were directly affected by it talking about it, but I didn't see it in the paper. You know, I wasn't reading the newspaper every week. And I doubt many people really were. I mean, they might have heard little whispers about it, little maybe one or two big things about it, but nobody really knew any details. Nobody knew that Ben was sitting down there getting a 6-month long vacation at the jail.